Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be doing something a little different with our math here because we were into the adding and subtracting fractions, and I haven't gotten these up for you yet. The first couple lessons are going to be split up based on topics, so we're going to have some adding of fractions, subtracting fractions, and working with like and unlike denominators. As well as then what I think I'm going to do to save some time on these, if it's not a matter of getting through the what's the process, I guess. What I think I'm going to do is do a couple separate videos just with some practice problems, so if there are any you want to try at home, you can go ahead and try them. So I think that might make it a little easier. So the first couple here are just going to be informational. If you have the general idea of how to add and subtract fractions and you just wanted some extra practice, we'll make those some separate videos. So why don't we go ahead, and our first video is going to be adding fractions of like denominators. Okay, so a quick review here, because we're saying addition of fractions with like denominators. So a quick couple definitions just as a reminder. Denominator in a fraction is the bottom number, that is the number of pieces I've broken an object into. The numerator is the number of pieces we're actually using out of those pieces. So object's been broken into 9 pieces, we're using 4. The addition allows us to put groups together. So here we have 4 9s plus 3 9s, and I tell the kids, I really am not picky about whether they do it in column or if they do it in a sentence form, in a horizontal, but they need to pick one. I personally prefer this one for later when we do the fractions with unlike denominators, because you can write your new problem just to the right. But for sake of just doing some straightforward adding here, like denominators, because they now are comparably sized pieces, this one's broken into 9ths, this one's broken into 9ths, I can add them. We cannot add fractions that don't have like denominators. So we're starting pretty simple here with just like denominators. So all we really have to add are the numerators. So in this case, 4 plus 3, which is 7. And then the objects, obviously, we're still cut into 9 pieces. So the fraction answer here for the sum, if you will, is 7 9ths. Before we can move on, though, to do anything else, we need to look and say, okay, is that fraction in simplest form? In other words, is there a number I could divide 7 and 9 by to create an easier fraction to understand? And in this case, no, I can't, because there's no number greatest common factor that will go into both 7 and 9. So in this case, 7 9ths is the final answer, and we can then move on to our next problem, or if we're doing a project, etc., where we've gotten our answer, we can then proceed to do whatever work we need to do. In the horizontal format, we're doing the same thing, and in some ways it does line up nicer that we're looking at them right across from each other. 6 plus 2 equals 8. So in this case, we have 8 in the numerator. And again, if you looked at that problem, the denominator was 7ths, so we have the fraction 8 7ths. Now, if we look at that, that should look a little wrong, because we can't have a denominator that is smaller than our numerator. That's called an improper fraction, which we talked about in one of the earlier lessons. To change an improper fraction to a mixed number, which is what we need to do, we divide the numerator 8 by the denominator. Did I say that right? Yeah, the numerator 8 by the denominator 7. How many times will 7 go into 8? Well, 7 will go into 8 one whole time. So that's where our whole number comes from, 1. With 1 piece left over, that becomes my new numerator, and then my denominator of 7, 1 and 1 7ths. So that's just a basic look at adding fractions with like denominators. We always want to check them for simplest form, and in the case of 1 and 1 7th, it's already in simplest form, so we're set that way. So that's adding fractions with like denominators. Our next video will look at adding fractions with unlike denominators. And there are some more steps to that, so you'll want to pay attention to it. Thank you much.